All right, guys. So I've been getting a lot of emails and communications lately from y'all talking about how you need help raising your prices. You're feeling stuck, and the reason you're feeling stuck is because you are stuck and you just can't figure out how to raise your prices. So what I have for you here is a list of 31 different proven strategies. And I say proven because these have been my strategies and they have worked. So these are 31 proven strategies. These are all actionable items that you can get started on right away to raise your prices. And the number one problem I'm seeing almost every time is the emails are basically saying, hey, I have clients, I like my clients, but I don't think I can raise my prices because they can't afford me or they're too cheap and I don't want to lose the work. So, number one is going to be, as much as you don't want it to be, it's going to be find new clients. And I understand that you like them and they're probably good people and you don't have to stop working for them. But if you're trying to run a business, your business needs good clients. And if you don't get better clients, you're just going to keep being stuck like you've been describing yourself exactly where you are. So, first off, is find better clients. What's a better client? A wealthier client would be a better client. Commercial properties pay a lot better. If you're working on homes, you can go do commercial work. It pays almost twice as much. You can work for third parties like I do, which would be like a property manager or a real estate agent. Typically, a third party, they don't have a lot of time to waste. They need professionals and they're willing to pay a premium for that. Or just business to business. Most other business owners do understand how valuable your time is as a fellow business owner, and they're going to be more willing to pay a better and higher rate if they believe that they're going to get the value out of that from you. But they're not going to balk at the pricing because they know what it means to run a business. Number two way to raise your prices is going to be to acquire more valuable skills. I don't know where all of y'all are at. You know, most of us start somewhere down here with just a handful of skills, and over the years, if we're lucky and if we put the effort in, we work our way up. So, if you don't have a lot of valuable skills, you're going to need to gain them so that you can justify higher prices. Some of the more valuable skills are going to be masonry is very much in demand. Obviously, electrical and plumbing, if you're licensed or if you live somewhere where you can do some amount of that without a license. Mold is a good one. Anytime mold is involved, there can be a premium attached to that. Pest control, tile work guys. There's not a lot of tile guys out there who are out here serving homeowners. Most tile guys who are any good are doing big, like full house remodel type jobs, or they're doing new build. So if you can get good at tile, there's a whole lot of money there. Concrete, anybody who can pour a slab or put a crew together to help take care of a slab or even just a little back porch slab, concrete pays really well. Decks pay really well, at least decks done properly pay really well. That is a very rare skill to know how to do a deck properly. Number three strategy for raising your prices is going to be push your most profitable skills. So, for all of us, there are things that we're great at and things that we're not great at, and we need to get better at the ones we're not great at. But in the meantime, go ahead and figure out what's your most profitable skills. What is it that you can do faster and better and more efficiently than everybody else, and start pushing those skills. For me, that would be like carpentry. Two big things that I do that I don't think a lot of handymen are out there doing because I seem to get all of these jobs is replacing fascia, for which I make almost $1,000 in a day, or just building drawers, just regular drawer boxes out of a kitchen drawer. Those fronts get busted off. Other handymen go and just goop it up with more and more glue and more nails. I've taken them apart and found four different types of hardware in there because four different handymen have just kept gluing the same drawer together, charging a trip fee every time. So I bring it home and I build a new box. Why? Because that's a skill I have. I grew up in a cabinet shop. Building a drawer box I can do with my eyes closed while focusing on a podcast in my ears and not even have to think about it. So figure out what you're at and push that skill more so that you're spending more of your time doing what you're actually good at. Fourth strategy for upping your wages is going to be stop working for cheap clients. And that's kind of the same thing as find better clients, but when I say stop working for cheap clients, I don't just mean getting rid of your current clients and finding better ones. I mean stop accepting new clients who are cheap. If somebody appears to be middle to even lower income, don't go try to work for them. That they deserve handymen to work for them, but they can't afford you. So don't go work for them. If they talk about price nonstop, don't go work for them. If they try to tell you how much they're going to pay you to do the job, don't go work for them. You need to learn to recognize who the cheap clients are and who the clients are that are willing to pay, and just don't work for cheap clients. You can use that time to go find better clients. That's what that time is best used for. Or you can use that time to go take care of your existing clients even faster and better so that they want to hire you again if they're not a cheap client. Number 5 way to increase your revenue: stop charging hourly. I get a lot of pushback on this, like a lot. Don't get me wrong, guys, you can absolutely build a perfectly fine business out of charging hourly. Some of y'all, depending on where you're at, you can charge $200 to $300 an hour. I can't, but a lot of y'all can. But charging hourly, it doesn't, if you're in a position to charge $200 to $300 an hour, then that means you're also in the position to be making $300 to $400 or $400 to $500 an hour. When you charge hourly, most of the things on this list that you can do to increase your revenue, they don't apply to somebody who's charging hourly. So just stop charging hourly, guys. You need to charge by the job. Every job has a value attached to it. For any given homeowner, a toilet that won't stop running is worth X amount of dollars to them. If the price is something they're willing to pay, then they're willing to pay it. And when it broaches the top of that window and becomes a price they're not willing to pay, then they're not willing to pay it. But where that window is and where that line is drawn has nothing to do with hourly rates. That price is that price. So the faster you can get it done, the more efficiently you can get it done. It doesn't really matter how long it takes you to the client. That only matters to you. So just stop charging hourly. People get jealous too. If you're charging hourly, it's really hard to go to an average income household or even a slightly upper income household. You know, if somebody's out there making $80 an hour as an engineer or $120,000 a year as an engineer, and they see that your price is on paper black and white, $200 an hour, they don't want to pay a handyman to make more money than they do, especially if they consider themselves to be well educated and to have earned that money, and if they consider you to be uneducated and to have not earned that money. So stop charging hourly. Here's a really good way. Number 6, one of the best ways to start charging more is just 1% at a time, guys. And what I mean by that is just little by little by little. You don't have to. Let's say you're charging $80 an hour and you now realize that you're worth $120 an hour, but now you're stuck with all these clients who expect $80 an hour. And again, I don't recommend charging hourly. This is just to make the math easy. You don't jump from $80 an hour to $120 an hour. You don't email all your clients and say, hey, guess what, guys? I'm more expensive. All you do is you just bump it up by 1%. And then later on bump it up by 1%, and you play with those numbers. Every job I do, I have custom line items for most of my jobs in Jobber, which, by the way, y'all can download. If you use Jobber, you can download my custom line items and then upload them into your Jobber account as a CSV file, and it will populate your Jobber with my custom line items, just so you know that's available. But my custom line items, I play with those prices. If I have something that I always charge $45 for, and 3 to 6 months has gone by and I'm doing that one again, I look at it and I go, let's bump it up to $48. Let's bump it up to $49. Let's bump it up to $55 and see what happens. And then if I get a little pushback, I just bump it back down, and then later on I bump it back up, and maybe I don't get pushback, and now it's at 55 instead of 45. But 1% at a time, guys. It doesn't have to be. This is not a problem. If you're having this problem, this is not a problem you have to solve overnight. This is a problem that can be taken care of with all of these steps, and they can all be baby steps as long as you know what they are and you're enacting them one at a time. What's next? Number 7, really good way to bump up your income is get licensed. Get a contractor's license. And for those of you who don't know, it's not like there's general contractor who can build a whole house and then nothing. There's general contractors with different limits, and then under the general contractors, there are all kinds of specialty contractors license. If you want to start a fence company, You can get a contractor's license just to do fencing, and it's going to be far easier and cheaper to get. So get licensed, whether it's a handyman license, whether they call it a small remodel license or a repair and renovation license, carpenter's license, fencing, doesn't matter, guys. Get yourself a license so that at the very least you can say you're licensed. Now don't lie. Don't try to convince the customer that your license covers things it doesn't cover. Stick within the bounds of your license, but most of these licenses allow you to do quite a bit of things, especially the small remodel license. But license for somebody who's looking for somebody with a license, for a client who wants a handyman or contractor that's licensed, that's a luxury. Most people can't afford that. The average American can't afford the premium that comes along with that. So that's a luxury. When you're looking for people, when you have clients who want a luxury, you get to charge luxury prices. Next, number 8, good way to increase your revenue this year is going to be to get efficient. This has been one of my biggest ones that has made me far, far, far more profitable and increased my rates dramatically, is just simply getting efficient. All these jobs you're doing as a handyman or whatever field you're in, all these jobs you're doing are going to get repetitive. And as they get repetitive, you have two options. You can just be bored and do the job, or you can occupy that boring time doing that same job for the 20th time by really paying attention to your processes and your procedures and your materials and your tooling and how you're storing things, and coming up with a process for every single job. And then you can start timing yourself and you can start trying new methods of doing things so you get faster and faster. Because again, if you're not charging by the hour, if you're charging X amount of dollars to replace a faucet, then a 30-minute faucet replacement for $100 is twice as profitable as a 1-hour faucet replacement for $100. So get efficient with your processes. Have processes, develop processes, and stay on top of them and be improving them always. Oh, yeah, here's a real simple one. Sub some stuff out, guys. Find some other handymen out there who are insured, who have a business license, who are legit legal handymen running a handyman business that are charging less than you, and hire them. Take advantage of their services that they're offering and just say, hey man, smoke detectors, I know you can do smoke detectors and you seem professional and clean enough and I think I trust you enough. How about every now and then I just sub out some of these little jobs to you and you can go do those little jobs at an agreed upon rate? Because those little jobs, don't get me wrong, they might be the most profitable for you, and if they are, go ahead and keep them. But if you're doing everything on this list and you're trying to grow as a professional handyman, there's going to come a time when it's going to start making sense to say, hey, there's a lot of less skilled people than me out there who need work, who would be happy to make half of what I'm making because they're not making that yet. I'll pay them half of what I'm making, and then I'll charge the client the full price that I would normally charge. That's a great, easy way to increase your revenue this year. Number 10, the A word. The A word. Guys, the word affordable should not be in your vocabulary. It shouldn't be on your website. It shouldn't be in your Craigslist ad. It shouldn't be on your business card. It shouldn't be coming out of your mouth when you're trying to tell people what you do and why they should hire you. If you're selling yourself on the word affordable, you have immediately created a pretext for your potential client to assume that your prices are going to be lower than most. You don't need, if you advertise on affordability, that's fine. That's going to increase volume of work. And if you just want to stay busy and make a decent wage, that's fine. That's your choice. But if you're trying to increase your revenue, stop presenting yourself as the affordable choice. I never, ever, ever say that. In fact, quite oftentimes, I will tell potential clients straight up, I am not as affordable as many handymen. I'm on the high side of what most handymen charge. Within that window that you might expect from a handyman, I'm up here near the top of the window. And then I just tell them, I think I'm worth it. I think that the reason I have such great clients that have been with me for so long is because I actually am worth what I charge. I don't mess around. I'm running a business. I have a family to provide for. I want to give you the best service possible because I want you to hire me again so that I can continue to feed my family. So With all that being said, no, I'm not all that affordable, but I do think I'm worth it. And don't be afraid to say that. You don't need to go throw it out there. You don't start off the conversation by saying I'm expensive. But don't advertise yourself as being an affordable option. Advertise yourself as being the best option, the best value for their money, which is not the same as affordability. Value and affordability are not the same thing. Number 11, we can increase our rates definitely by understanding that appearance is everything. I want you to put yourself in the position of a homeowner, and you call a handyman to come over and give you an estimate. You call two of them. One of them shows up dressed like crap, looking like crap, smelling like crap, with a crappy looking vehicle. He doesn't have a clipboard, he doesn't have a tape measure. He comes in and he's got a piece of paper folded up and a pencil in his hand, and he draws a couple things and makes a couple notes and looks around and snaps a couple pictures, doesn't ask you any questions, all of that. And then the next one shows up, and he comes in with like a metal contractor's clipboard, preferably an older beat up one so they can see the experience that you must have with your beat up clipboard. Have a tape measure on your side, have plenty of paper to write on. Take measurements of things, ask them questions, ask them lots of questions to show that you're listening to them, because you wouldn't know what question to ask if you didn't hear what they just said. So appearance is everything. Dress nice, have a clean vehicle, just look the part of a business and not the part of just some guy who's looking for some work. Because if you're that homeowner and they're both at the same price, number one, you're going to hire the guy that was better dressed, more articulate, cleaner, and more thorough and communicated better. But number two, you're just going to want to hire that guy anyways. And if his rates are a little higher than this guy, excuse me, if his rates are a little higher, if this guy's rates are a little higher than this guy's over here, you're still probably going to want to go ahead and hire the guy that seems to know what he's doing and who feels like a professional, because you're going to want him in your house, not this guy in your house. Oh, number 12, one of my favorites. This was also what I would call one of the top 5 ways that I increased my revenue, is by getting an inventory. Before I had an inventory, I would show up at a job, look at what I needed to work on, then go to Home Depot or Ace Hardware or the plumbing supply house or the electrical supply house, pick up what I need, drive back to the address and do my work. And the work might have been, I might spend 15 to 20 minutes in the house from the time I knock on the door to the time I'm leaving. 20 minutes in the house doing work, but then a 45-minute round trip drive with including the time inside Home Depot or Ace Hardware getting parts. That's a waste, because again, every job has a value. It doesn't, hourly doesn't make any sense. Hourly doesn't matter. Every job has a value. It's worth a certain amount of money to have that problem go away. So you can charge $100 to fix the problem in 30 minutes, or you can charge $100 to fix the problem in an hour and 15 minutes. Which one puts more money in your pocket? The one where you have an inventory, where you start paying attention to what is it that I buy most often? What's the most likely thing that I'm going to need to buy for these jobs? Even if you can't build out a full inventory today, look at the list of the 3 jobs you're going to do that day and go, oh, it'd probably be good if I started my day off at the very least with a garbage disposal, a headrail for some bypass closet doors, and some normal, I don't know, trim, just regular baseboard, which most of it is about all the same in most of the houses I go to. There's like 3 styles. So, in other words, all I'm saying is have an inventory. Try to have what you're going to need on hand, because every time you don't drive to Home Depot, if your time is worth $100 an hour, every time you're able to do a job without leaving that house to go get materials, you just saved yourself an hour, which means you saved yourself $100 of wasted time and money and gasoline. You also finished that job earlier, which guess what? Means you can get to the next job earlier and the next job earlier, and you finish them all earlier, and you take this full day of 3 jobs and you turn it into 3 jobs done by lunchtime. And then that time after lunchtime, guess what? 3 more jobs. Double your income. Next, talk like a business. Communicate with them like a business. This means a lot of things. One of those things means answering your phone like a business. When I answer my phone, I say, "This is Ray," because the business is mostly just me and I have only a few clients because they're very big clients, third party clients that send tons of work. So I can do that. But if I was working for homeowners or if I was working for 15 really small property managers and I was constantly seeking new clients, I'd be answering my phone with my business name with some sort of professional message. But even more so when I say talk like a business, is don't sound eager, okay? When you call the cable company to ask them to come set up cable, they don't sound like they really, really need your business. You're calling somebody to set up an appointment to come take a look at something or to perform some kind of work. You can sound happy, of course, but don't sound eager. Don't start trying to talk yourself up. Don't start trying to sell yourself and pitch yourself because that's going to give them the view that you need work really bad. And people who need work really bad, you can pay less than you can people that have so much work they don't have time for you. So talk like a business, guys. Google reviews. This is not something I do. This is one of the only things on this list that I actually haven't done and don't do. But Google reviews. If you're working for homeowners or if you're trying to work for lots of smaller clients instead of just a handful of bigger clients, if that's what you're doing, you're going to have a lot of clients who are going to make their decision not only on whether to hire you, but on what your actual value is based on reviews. And this could be on many, many, many websites, but I think we all understand they're the mainstay for reviews. It's the fastest, easiest, biggest place to go to look for reviews on a business. So encourage your happy clients to leave Google reviews. Ask your clients who are maybe less than happy if there's anything you can do to get a 5-star review. Like, what can I do to make this right? And again, don't seem eager. Say it like a professional, but just be like, hey, I take my business very seriously. This is how I support my family. I'm trying to build something that can survive longer than I will to take care of my family when I'm gone, and I want to make sure every client of mine receives 5-star service. What can I do to cause you to feel that you got 5-star service? What can I do to make up for the mistake or for the accident or for showing up late? Try not to make those mistakes, first of all. But if you do, try to get good 5-star reviews on Google or on any other platform. Yelp is a good one too. But encourage that because it's going to change the way many of your clients view you in terms of how they value you. Here we go. Number 15, a great way to stop losing money, which means making more money, is to introduce the idea of change orders and or contracts. Even if the contract is super, super short and simple, like it's just a patch on a wall, you don't need a 5-page contract for that, but there should be something in writing, even if it's just a text message, something in writing saying what it is that you intend to do and how much money you're going to charge for that. And when that client says, while you're here, can you also blah, blah, blah? You don't say, yeah, but that'll cost more money. But you do say, absolutely, I'd love to do that. Let me take a look at it. And then you take a look at it and you say, yeah, I probably don't even need to charge you more than an additional $20 and I'll go ahead and take care of that if you want. And that way, that's a change order. And the change order doesn't necessarily have to be in writing depending on the rapport you have with the client. I think everything's better in writing. But make sure that when they ask you to do additional items, you don't need to feel pressured to do those additional items for free. Just because they only took you 10 minutes doesn't mean that you didn't add value to that work order. And if you added value, you should get a return for that value. Next, get a CRM. Definitely get a CRM. A CRM is a customer relationship management, something to that effect. It's the software you use to run your business. I use Jobber. I think it's the best one. I'm not telling you that you have to use Jobber, although I do think you should. But whatever CRM you use, have software that's designed to help a small home service-based business run their business. It's going to provide so much admin work for you. It's going to do so many things for you that, for me, when I get home in the evening, I need currently for a full day of work, I need a good hour minimum to take care of my admin work. And that's with Jobber. That's with having a really good CRM. So that's for me to import and put into my software, let's say 4 new jobs, invoice the 4 jobs I did today, order some parts, write an estimate, all of those things I need to do. I do them all in Jobber and it takes me about an hour. And I can tell you for a fact, if I wasn't using Jobber or some CRM that does a good job of helping me manage all of this, following up on old estimates that you've sent out as well, following up on old invoices that weren't paid. How are you even going to know if they were paid? Because you got a bunch of pieces of paper and spreadsheets everywhere. Get yourself a CRM. I prefer Jobber. There's a link in the description for a free trial, but use some sort of organizational software to run your business, because again, if it takes me an hour, let's say if I didn't have it, then it would take me 2 hours every night. I think it would be more, but let's say it would take 2 hours every night. By getting the CRM and saving that hour a night, I'm extending my potential work day by an hour, or I'm getting an hour more time with my family, but I've saved myself an hour. And again, if I value my time at $100 an hour, which is, it's more than that these days, but I still just say 100 because I feel like that's a good minimum for all of y'all. But if you value your time at $100 an hour, and a piece of software can save you an hour a day, 5 days a week, that's 40 hours. 40 hours, guys, every single month that software can save you. 40 hours at $100 an hour is $4,000. Next, number 17, increase your revenue this year by mastering scheduling for efficiency. This is also something Jobber will help with. They'll put all your jobs on a map for you. You can filter them out for all different things. They'll do routing, like the most efficient routing between a bunch of addresses. But master scheduling. There is a skill to scheduling. There really, truly is. This was the hardest skill that I had to learn. Hands down, the hardest. Developing an inventory wasn't all that hard, it just took time. All of these things I'm telling you, developing my processes came naturally to me. I like processes. All of these tips and stuff I'm giving you, they were all easy compared to scheduling. Scheduling still to this day, I would say, in terms of how much mental effort I have to put into being successful with it, scheduling is the hardest for me. Because if you can schedule, let's say this is a map of the town that you're in, right? And you've got requests all over the place, just peppered across the map. If you're calling people, I'll give you one quick tip. Don't ask them what's best for them. Tell them when your next availability is and ask them if they're available on that date at that time to be at home. That's going to help you a lot right there. But you need to be able to plan these days. You can't just be shooting all over town. Because if you're driving 20 minutes on average between jobs and you do 5 jobs, then you've just driven 4 different 20-minute segments between each of these jobs. That's assuming you're not going to Ace Hardware and Home Depot and stuff because you have an inventory. So that's 80 minutes. You lost an hour out of your day, as opposed to scheduling your day out in such a way that either all of your jobs are in one block of town, or perhaps you're doing a loop, but your loop, each job is 10 minutes apart, so you're not going 20 minutes here, 20 minutes here, 20 minutes here, right back up to where you started again, 20 minutes over here, and then 40 minutes home. There's no reason to be doing any of that. You don't need to do that. Make yourself a loop, or make a line that you go up and then come back down, put them all in one part of town. There's lots of strategies. I should probably do a full video just on that. But learn how to get good at scheduling. You can, again, if you save yourself an hour a day at $100 an hour, you can save yourself $4,000 a month. Next, what's next, guys? Number 18. Yeah, this is a big one, and this is a difficult one emotionally. You do need to learn how to remove emotion from your business decisions. You need to learn to remove how you feel about things from what decisions you make for your business. I do want to be clear that I'm not saying you should remove morals or ethics or principles. Those still matter. But you do need to remove emotion. So if your value is $100, 100% for sure, everybody's happy to pay you $100. They're excited to have you come back again for another $100 if that's your value. and you have clients who don't have much money, but they really like you, and you really like them, but they just can't pay $100, and you started with them at 50 and they can't afford you, in your personal time, you know, let's do it this way. Your name is Mike, right? You're Mike. In the business, it's Mike's Handyman Services. Mike can go help them on Mike's free time. I'm not telling you as a person not to go help somebody out. Mike can go help those. But Mike's Handyman business, Monday through Friday from 8 to 5, when it's business time and the business needs to make revenue and succeed to provide for this family here, Mike's Handyman service can't use Mike's emotions to make business decisions about how Mike's Handyman service does business. I'll tell you my solution to this for friends and family, and this could, for me it doesn't, but this could for you include clients that you've become friendly with that you care about. For me, with friends and family, I won't do work from my business for friends and family. So in other words, my business under its business name doesn't go to their houses and do work for them. It's not a thing. I can't charge them the rates that I charge because I don't feel good doing it. However, me as a person, I tell my friends and family, if you truly need some help, and I can't help you by talking you through it on the phone, if you need me and are requesting me in person to help you as a friend take care of something, I understand you want to pay me. I don't want you to pay me. I'm going to come help you for free. You can provide beer, you can provide some brisket, you can provide food of any sort, whatever you want. You can invite me to just stay after for dinner and hang out the rest of the night. I will tell you what I would have charged one of my regular clients for the work I did for you, but with the understanding that I don't want your money. So at the end of the day, if you choose to give me some money of any amount, I'm not going to count it. I'm going to wad it up. I'm going to stick it in my pocket. I'm going to go home. I tell them this. I literally tell them, I'm going to take it from you without counting it, put it in my pocket, go home, give it to my wife, and say, spend this on the babies. That's what I'm going to do. Don't be trying to mix up all of that stuff. Don't be having your business make emotional decisions about, or don't be having your business make decisions based on your emotions about things. Next, here's a really good one. Super easy one too, guys. Just sell add-ons. Just sell add-ons. Look, when you pull up to a house, somebody wants you to come troubleshoot an outlet that's not working. It just doesn't have any power. You pull up to that house, man. Look at the mailbox. See what condition it's in. As you're walking up to the house, look at the sidewalk, look at the grass, look at the irrigation, look at the bushes, the trees. When you get up to the house, look up at the fascia, look at the roof when you're on your way to see if the roof looks like it needs any work, see if that fascia's rotten, look at the stucco, look at the siding, look at the trim and the caulk around the windows. Be paying attention. This will also help you slow down, so if you are nervous in this industry, which a lot of new guys are, it'll help you to slow down as well because you're focusing your energy on something you do know rather than the scary thing of talking to clients that you haven't gotten good at yet. And you'll get just fine at it after you do it for a while, whether you want to or not. It's not even practice. You just do it enough that you forget that you were nervous before. Be looking at everything. Ring the doorbell. Don't knock. Ring the doorbell and listen to see if it works or see if maybe it only partially works where it just goes dong, dong. But notice the door when you walk in the door. Notice if the threshold is loose. Look at the weather stripping all around when you go to shut the door. See if it shuts tightly and latches well. All of that, guys. Be looking around all the time. Look for the things that they need that they don't know they need and let them know all the things you noticed and let them know what it'll cost for you to fix it, especially if you have time to fix it right now, or if you don't have time, or if you just don't want to be combining jobs. Wait till you're done and then say, hey, by the way, I noticed all of these things. You want me to send you an estimate for that? And 9 times out of 10, they'll say yeah. You can go home, type up that estimate real quick in about 5 minutes, shoot it over to them. If they say no, you lost 5 minutes. If they say yes, you gained a client. You really, truly gained a client because they're now trusting you to analyze what they need done and they're approving your prices. So you've actually gained a better client by doing that. So sell those add-ons. Be looking for them and then sell them. Really, really good one here. This is going to help with estimates especially. Communicate your value, specifically your value as compared to other potential handymen, tradesmen, etc., that they may or may not want to use. And what I mean by communicate your value is, again, I've done a video on this one before. Let's say you're going to replace some drywall that got like flooded by the washer, a little bit of baseboard and some drywall. So there are handymen who are going to go in there and they're going to write the shortest, sweetest estimate. It's just going to say, replace rotten drywall behind washing machine and 3 feet of baseboard and seal and paint to match. They're just going to say that. They're not going to say anything else. When they come to look at it, they're going to go, yep, oh yeah, yep, it's about 3 feet of baseboard. Yep, okay. Yeah, I can do that. And then the estimate just says, that's just it. It's that simple. They do absolutely nothing. They do not go out of their way to really inform the client of anything at all. Here's the alternative. You go in there and you take an extra few minutes to pull everything out. Maybe have a moisture meter with you guys. You know how impressed people are with moisture meters? It makes you look like a professional, and it helps you actually be a professional. Take your moisture meter and go poke around on the wall. Maybe even make some marks with your pencil where you see that it's really moist here and it's mostly dry here. Make some marks. Show the homeowner. Say, look, so here's the area that's still damp right now, so at the very least we want to make sure we remove all of this. Now, by the way, there may be some mold and mildew behind that wall because this happened, especially if this has happened before in the past. Each successive event is going to increase those odds, so I just want you to know there will be a point when I do my work after I remove that drywall where I am going to need to inspect for that, and I'll treat it on the spot if it does need to be treated. In fact, you know what? Even if I don't find any, I'll tell you what, I'm going to throw some fungicide on what's in there anyways, just to give it a little bit of, just a better chance in the future of not getting any mold. I'm going to use green board. I'm going to use this type of drywall. I'm going to use this. I'm going to be taping off this door, so make sure you don't need the laundry room while I'm in here for the 4 hours that it's going to take me, because I'll be taping off this entire door all the way down to the floor so I don't get any drywall dust in your house. When I'm all wrapped up, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Give them all the details. Let them know that you know what you're talking about, guys, because the other guys aren't. And when they have to, again, put yourself in their position. One guy shows up and says, yeah, I'll replace 3 feet of baseboard and that rotten drywall and texture and paint to match, you know, for $800. And you show up and you say, I'm going to do this whole laundry list of things, and you're going to feel very comfortable with me, and your house is going to be clean, and you're not going to have any worries from here on out now that I am on the job, and I'm going to do that for $950. Guess who they want to hire? They don't want the $800 guy. They want the $950 guy who feels like he's doing $1,500 worth of work for him. So communicate everything. Communicate everything articulately. Here's a good one. Number 21. Charge for estimates. Number 21. When you need to do an estimate for somebody, you need to charge for that estimate. Now, if it's a tiny job and you don't need to go to the property, like if they say we need a new sliding screen door from Home Depot installed, you just give them an estimate. You already know that's going to be $150 or whatever that price is going to be for you. But when somebody says, hey, we want a new vanity in the bathroom, we want this, we've got a whole list of things we'd like you to do, and it's going to be expensive, and they want you to come over and walk through everything with them, charge for that estimate. You can even give them a deal. I personally don't do this deal, but you can even say, hey, when I come back, if I get the job, when I come back and do the work, I'll deduct the cost of the estimate off of the total cost of the job at the end. Now, to me, that's silly because you can just add $125 to the estimate and then charge $125 for the estimate and then remove that $125 at the end. You just bump it up and account for it, you know. It's not like they're really saving anything. But I think my bigger point here is when you're charging for estimates, it implies that you're not desperate. Because this video is about how to increase your prices. It's not about how to get more work. It's not about how to get more estimate requests. It's about how to increase your prices. And somebody who charges for estimates and you can just tell them very point blank, look, I'm extremely busy. I have very little time. I have lots of clients to take care of. and writing estimates takes at least an hour out of my day just to drive there and look at things. It's going to take me an additional hour or maybe even 2 or 3 hours at home to write it up properly, do my research properly, make sure I've covered all of our bases. That takes a lot of time out of my day, and right now I don't have a lot of time to be doing estimates when I already have paying work ready to go. And that lets them know your services are highly sought after, so they're going to assume your prices are going to be higher and they're not going to balk at those prices. Versus the guy, again, let's go down some of this old stuff. They call some other guy and he goes, "Hello? Yeah, I can head over there right now." And then he heads over there right now and he peeks over and goes, "Yep, I can do that for $350. They expect it to be $350 from that guy. He appears to not have anything else going on. He doesn't appear to be a professional in almost any way, shape, or form, as opposed to you who says, "I can come over Wednesday between 3 and 4 p.m. if somebody can be home, or I can come over Saturday between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. if somebody can be home to get that estimate taken care of." It will be a $125 charge for the estimate. However, if the estimate is approved, then I'll deduct that $125 on the back end once the work's done. You can do that, and they're going to expect to pay you more than they are the other guy that I just went over. Learn red flags for window shoppers is a really good one. That's number 22. Learn red flags for window shoppers. Again, this is not just how to charge more per hour. This is not just how to literally charge more for your work. This video is about increasing your revenue overall with a myriad of different ways. And one of those is to learn window shoppers. There is such a thing. It's very hard for me to describe, but suffice to say that when you get enough clients under your belt, when you've done enough of these jobs, you're going to start noticing patterns. You're going to have clients who said yes, they said yes quickly, they paid you on time, they were great clients, and you're going to have clients who diddle-daddled and fiddle-faddled and dilly-dallied forever and ever and ever, constantly talked about getting 3 other estimates from 3 other guys and they're not sure, tried to get you to lower your price, promised that there's more work for you in the future if you do a good job or cut them a deal on this one. There's a million things. You're going to see that these estimates that you don't get, or the estimates that you do get, but only because you had to drop your price down so low you barely made any money and you didn't enjoy working for them, you're going to see patterns in their behavior and patterns in their behavior and a spectrum in between. And you're going to reach a point, so just be paying attention, but you're going to reach a point where when somebody calls you on the phone, every detail of every word that comes out of their mouth, the nuances of the tones applied to each word, the questions they ask, everything about your interaction with them, literally every minute little detail, is going to be triggering little pluses and minuses in your brain, yeses and nos, and you're just gonna be able to spot them. But the only way you get there is, number one, by doing a lot of work. So you got to be willing to go out there and just risk it. At first you're going to be taking a lot of risks. And if you're a smart guy, you're going to figure out how to get your way through even the ones that go bad. But over time, you're just going to learn what those red flags are. Next, this is actually a good one. I use this one frequently to this day. Offer to refer people to people who are less expensive. And then go ahead and mention, I don't hire him to do any of my work, and I don't recommend him out to my friends and family. However, he is a basically qualified handyman who can probably handle this job, and he's less expensive than me. And be willing to actually do that. You're going to know some other handymen eventually, and you can just say, if your price is high and they say, "Man, that's really high," again, don't argue with them. You don't need to try to convince them to give you the job. You can just let them know, like, I understand that. I'm told quite frequently that I am a little higher. I believe I'm worth it. However, what I can do for you is I know a couple guys who are significantly less expensive than me. They're not as qualified as me. I don't hire them to do my work, but I'd be happy to give you their numbers if you just need to save some money. And again, that gets rid of the bad clients that you don't want. You don't want that client to begin with. So don't be trying to figure out how to keep them as a client. Be trying to figure out how to get them to make a decision. Understand my value and go with me, or don't understand my value and go with somebody else. But it stops wasting your time and it keeps you from being stuck in that position where you can't charge enough. Number 24, Be too busy. And I don't mean pretend to be too busy, I mean be too busy. Hustle up that work, find the work, do what you gotta do to get yourself busy, not by offering affordability, not by lowering your prices, just hustle, hustle, hustle until you are so busy you can't keep up. And then figure out how to barely keep up. And then, when there's a job that you don't really need because you're booked out for the next month and a half already with no days off, when that job comes up that you don't really need from a client that you're not quite sure about and they ask you to come down on that price, boy, you give them the price you want to give them, the price that you would be happy to do that job for, that you would be willing to sacrifice even more of your precious time for. Give them the price that makes you happy to do that for them, and let them take it or leave it. And if they take it, guess what? You've just bumped yourself up a level. Now your prices are a little higher. You've got one more client who's willing to pay more, and now you can drop another client, or you can let that client choose to pay you what your actual value is. But don't pretend to be busy. Be too busy. It is so easy to fire clients, and it is so easy to say no to new potential clients who are trying to give you the runaround. It's easy to say no to them when you are so busy you can't keep up. So put yourself in that position. Emergency services, number 25. Offer emergency services. Advertise emergency services. Let them know it's double your normal rate or 2.5 times your normal rate. But put that out there, guys. If you want more revenue, offer those after hours emergency services. Anything after 6 p.m., anything on the weekends, or anything where they're asking you to stop what you're doing in the middle of a work day, leave the job you're on to go take care of it. That's double the rate, at least, if not 3 times the rate. So offer those emergency services. That's a really good way. Number 26. We're almost done, guys. Number 26. Go ahead and just drive further. I have so many guys tell me, I'm in a rural area where I just can't charge all that much. And I say, what's your nearest metropolitan area? And they say such and such city, but it's 45 minutes away, and that's going to cost me, an extra $30 a day in gas plus an extra hour and a half of driving. So let's do some math here real quick, guys. Let's say you're in a rural area where you feel like the most you can charge is $60 an hour. So that's what you're working for. And you can't seem to break that $60 an hour mark without people just getting pissed off and firing you. And 45 minutes away is Minneapolis, Minnesota. I don't care what the city is. A big city with lots of rental houses, lots of property managers, lots of wealthy areas, as well as poor and middle income areas, but just tons of work in that city. And you could be charging $120 an hour. And you don't want to drive there because of the $30 in gas and the hour and a half of your time. But if you do some quick, simple math here, let's say you work an 8-hour day in either situation, right? You can work an 8-hour day at home, or you can work an 8-hour day 45 minutes away. 8-hour day, the difference between $60 and $120, I think I wrote this down anyways, is $60 an hour. That's an extra $60 an hour. And if you work 8 hours a day, that's an extra, $480 a day, right? Yeah, 8 times 6 is 48. So that just by making an extra by doubling your rate and driving that extra hour and a half, you're making an additional $480 a day. So you tell me, does it make sense to spend an extra $30 in gas and an extra hour and a half driving for $480? I feel like it probably does. So do the math, and if it makes sense to drive further, guys. Oh, here we go. This is a cool one. Mass marketing / efficiency campaigns. I'm just going to give you an example to describe what I mean by this. We're about to be doing dryer vents because a property manager, for the first time ever, doesn't just want the dryer vent cleaned like down where the dryer connects to the wall, which we usually we just grab out whatever's in the back of the dryer, we empty out the little tube, the flexible duct, and we get whatever's right down here into the wall. But there's a whole duct going up to the ceiling. We've offered the service forever. We've had a price for it and said if you want it, we can do it. But they've always wanted to take the lower price and just do just a little bit down here on the ground. Well, now they finally want an entire duct all the way up to the roof, so I've tasked my son with watching some YouTube videos. There's tons of them out there. I've seen them. I just don't remember the equipment, but I said, go watch the videos. Learn how it's done by the pros, the guys that started a business just doing dryer duct cleaning. Find out what equipment materials we need. Make a list, send me some links. I'm going to order the equipment materials that we need, and then you're going to go do it. And this is now going to be a thing that you do, and this is also now going to be a thing that I start putting the word out to everybody. Hey, by the way, and also to you guys, by the way, I'm going to have him track his time on it so we know how long it takes him the first time, second time, third time, fourth time, until we can get this narrowed down and figure out how much time is this really and how much can we charge for it. And when I've got those numbers figured out, I'm going to be putting out the word. I'm going to come up with a good price, and I'm going to say, hey, I'm not going to tell him this part, but in my head I'm going to be like, hey, I don't like driving around town in my gigantic handyman van full of all my stuff. One day a month, I'm just going to offer dryer duct cleaning services, so all I got to bring is my shop vac, my little kit with my stuff in it, some trash bags, some filters, whatever it is that I need. One day a month, we're going to be doing this. If you have properties where you would like this done, we'll do them all on that day, but you have to ask for them a month in advance or 2 weeks in advance or some amount of time in advance where I can use the routing feature on Jobber and say, oh, look, we can hit 16 of these in one day. Then we don't need to charge a $25 trip fee or a $125 trip fee. We can do some special of like, $95 and the whole vent's cleaned all the way top to bottom, no mess left behind. We'll tighten everything up while we're back there and sweep up our mess for a cheaper price. That would be what I would call an efficiency campaign. It's a campaign because you're campaigning on offering it to your clients. It's an efficiency campaign because you're doing it in such a way you're limiting the scope and scale so that you can gain massive efficiencies. And then you get to take care of those things. Your client benefits because they got some cheaper stuff done. You benefit because you just made $2,000 in one day. Next, we're getting towards the end, guys. Number 28, focus on safety. Understand safety. Understand what safety means to a upper class, middle upper class housewife when things like, oh, you don't have a Ring doorbell, you don't have any sort of camera system out here protecting your front porch. Oh, your CO2 detector in the hallway, number one, is more than 10 feet away from that bedroom way over there, and it needs to be within 10 feet, because otherwise, if the CO2 goes over there, this one's not going to notice, and somebody could die in that room of CO2. I'm not saying literally fearmonger, but what I'm saying is you can point out safety features that people are going to want you to fix. Anytime the word mold comes up, anytime there is mold, if they're worried about mold, if you find mold, that's a trigger word for some people, and they'll throw the money that they have to throw at that mold to make it go away. Little tub traction pads. If you're in the bathroom working on if you're working on the toilet and you've got the lid off and you just look over at the tub and you see that there aren't those little traction pads for you to stand on and not slip and fall in the tub, if you keep those in the vehicle with you at all times, a few different styles of them, while you're working on that toilet, you can say, hey, you got little kids and I don't see any traction pads in this bathtub here. I don't want them to get hurt. If you want, I'll just throw some new ones in right now for extra $25. And they're going to be like, $25 and I don't have to drive to Home Depot. I don't have to worry about that thing that I wasn't worried about 2 minutes ago. You can upsell specifically on safety. Here's a very good one. When you're talking to your clients, and you're in their home with them especially, but in any time you're talking to your clients, you need to have confidence. You need to speak to them with confidence. You need to tell them. You don't need to ask them. You don't need to say, pick a drywall repair again. Don't ask them like, do you want me to do it this way or do you want me to do it that way? You're the handyman. You're the professional. You're the one who knows drywall, not them. They don't need to tell you how to do their job, and you don't need to ask them to tell you how to do your job. You need to tell them what needs to be done. And you need to tell them, like, hey, by the way, we really should. So listen, we, right? Not you, not me. We, because we're a team now. You haven't even hired me, and I'm already referring to us as a we. We really should go ahead and paint corner to corner on this wall because I noticed you have a satin paint, and satins are notoriously hard to match because so many of the satins from different brands, if we can't match the brand, are going to be a different level of sheen. So if you want, we just go ahead and actually scratch that. See, I messed that up. Don't say if you want. We really need to do that. So if you approve that, I would like to go ahead and paint corner to corner instead of trying to just touch up the patch by itself. Tell them what they need. Don't ask them what they need. Number 30, we've got 2 left, number 30 and 31. Number 30, understand the concept of diminishing returns. This is a thing, look it up. When you do understand the concept of diminishing returns, it's going to help you understand the concept of quality, and it's going to bring you to a place where you finally understand that there are 2 types of people in this industry. There are business people where their priority is business. The business is there to make money, to support a family, to build a future, and the business is the priority. And then there are people for whom being a handyman, it's the lifestyle that's the priority. The difference between the 2 is night and day. Absolutely night and day. Both of them can make a lot of money. Neither of them is necessarily going to make more than the other. But when you understand diminishing returns, then you understand that there is a level of quality where you need to cut it off. And then there's a level of quality above that that they can pay a lot more for. But diminishing returns is this concept. We're going to take a patch on a wall. Again, let's put a patch right here, fist size hole. So let's say I know for me, in the course of, if I have my kit in my hand when I knock on the door, because I have a drywall patch kit, so I don't need to rummage through my van because I'm efficient and have processes. I've got my kit in my hand already. It literally has everything I need for that patch. Knock on the door. From the moment I walk through that door, if I see that patch and go over to it and start working on it, within 10 or 12 minutes, I can have a square cut out, a new square put in with the backer board and mud on it, right? I can do that in 10 minutes. And I can even, if you really want me to, because it's hot mud, within 15 minutes, I can go ahead and kind of have a skim coat that's mostly dried and a little bit more, slightly more liquidy hot mud that I can then dab on there just the right way and scrape it down, flatten it a little bit to basically match the texture that's around it. That 10 to 15 minutes with texture and everything, that's possible. So most of the work, like most of what needed to get done, that hole is now patched. That hole does now have a piece of sheetrock inside it, mud on the outside of it, and texture that's not a bad match. That's a minimum viable product. To me, don't get me wrong, to me that's a crap job. That's far less, I guess, than a minimum viable product because it's not viable. But in 15 minutes, you can solve 80% of the problem. 80% of what needed to be done. The hole getting filled and some texture being on there, boom, 15 minutes. However, the nicer you want that to be, the higher quality you want it to be. So maybe you want to cut that hole a little better. Maybe you want to remove a little bit of texture around it to make room for some tape so that you can actually have the tape on there so it doesn't crack in the future. Each little thing you do is bumping that quality up. But 80% of it is just filling that hole. So you knock out the 80% of the work in the first 20% of the amount of time that you spend there. But to get from that 80% to 100, just to get that last little 20%, that's going to require 80% more work. So you have to start learning how to judge these and go, okay, what does this client want? Number one, what does the rest of the house look like? Am I trying to do a perfect Lamborghini patch on a wall that's just covered in old junkers that are missing windows and tires? Am I trying to do a Lamborghini on a wall that's just covered in nothing but a junkyard? Because that doesn't make any sense. Your client probably doesn't want that. If your patch looks better than the other patches, That's probably going to be good enough for them if you're affordable. And the higher you go and the higher you go, you can go all the way from $100 quickie, low quality, but better than what's on the wall patch, all the way up to $1 million home that has 20-foot ceilings with, like, huge 10-foot tall glass panes going across it, with a huge display center of drywall in the middle with a painting hung on it and a hole in that. And maybe that multi-millionaire customer, same size hole, same patch, but that might be a $1,500 patch, because maybe for them, they would like you to get up there and do that patch in such a way that you take the painting down in a very safe and perfect way and you store it extremely safely. You take the time to do that. You do some bedding behind there so that the backer boards that you're putting on the other side of that drywall are super, super solid so nothing can flex. You spend a lot more time cutting your patch just right. You go ahead and you tape it like you should. You skim coat it once, not just once, but you skim coat it twice, because this is a nicer house. Wait a minute, not just twice. We forgot we're in a multi-million-dollar house with a very wealthy client who wants his things perfect and understands our value. So maybe we're going to skim coat the whole thing, and then we're going to retexture the whole thing. That's going to involve bagging off other parts of this room. Maybe we're going to do paint on the entire wall, corner to corner, or hell, if he's not okay with just the most slightest variation in paint color that you can just barely notice, if he's got the money, maybe you need to paint the whole room to make that client happy. So what I'm saying here with diminishing returns is 80% of the work can get done in the first 20% of the time, but that last 20% of quality, that is exponential all the way up through infinite. You can just tear down the whole house and build a new house if the hole in the drywall is bad enough. So don't let anybody tell you that because your quality that you're offering to this specific client for this specific job, because that quality isn't their hypothetical perfect quality that they do, that doesn't make you a crap handyman. That makes you a business owner and a service provider. And when people buy a service, they have a budget and they're looking for something within their budget. Of course, they would love to get something outside their budget, but you can't go spend 8 full hours on a little patch and a little wall for somebody who's trying to sell a house, just a regular old spec home built in 1992, real quick. They don't want the $1,500 patch. They don't. They don't want a hack patch either. They don't want a crappy patch. But there are levels that they're looking for, and it goes up to infinity. I'm pretty sure on Jeff Bezos's yacht, you're going to do a better job of patching than you are on some slum that somebody's just trying to sell. So understand diminishing returns so that you can then start understanding the idea that you need to know what your clients want, what their budget is, and figure out what solution you can provide them that's within their budget without being hack work. And finally, number 31, understand the reality that you don't have competition. You really don't. There aren't enough of us, and if you need to understand this, do something today. Actually, don't go use Thumbtack and stuff, because you're going to end up causing handymen to get charged for leads when you're not really a lead. But go to like Craigslist and just start trying to find home service professionals to come take care of things in your house. Try to find some who are available, who can come out now, who don't sound like they're on drugs, who when they show up are business professionals that you're comfortable having in your house. And on it, I do this spiel so often, I don't want to finish the list, guys. You don't have competition. If you're running a real handyman business and if you are a professional, you don't have competition. In fact, the only reason you're charging as little as you're charging is because you're worried about gouging people, as you should be. I can triple my rates, go up into the foothills tomorrow, and only work for rich people and do half-assed work, to tell you the truth. I could do all of that tomorrow. I don't, because I'm trying to build a long-term business, but I understand that I don't have competition. When you understand that you don't have competition, when you truly internalize that, when you know for a fact what I'm providing is above and beyond what 90% of the other handymen are providing, when you know that for sure, it becomes much easier to charge fair rates and to get your prices up to where they need to be. So with all of that said, guys, all of that said, this is the end of this video. Every one of these are actionable items. You can start, if you can't do all of them, guys, just pick one. Pick one thing and try to improve one little percentage point at a time, whether it's on efficiency, on communications, on inventory, on processes, all of the above, everything I've gone over. Pick a thing and start trying to work on it. And then I do want to remind y'all, this channel is largely supported by Jobber. There is a link in the description for you to go get a free trial of Jobber. I sincerely, 100%, for well more than a year before I had anything to do with him as any sort of affiliate or sponsorship or ambassador, any of that, was already using it, already loved it. They saw me promoting it in my videos when I wasn't getting paid because that's how much I love it. I think you should be using it. Go download yourself a free trial, give it a try. If it's not for you, don't use it, but if it is for you, do use it. That's the best way to support this channel. And with that being said, I love you guys. I hope you're all out there killing it. I wish you very much good luck, sincerely, in getting your prices up, because you have a family to provide for, and maybe that should be number 32. You have a family to provide for, and if you don't, you will someday. And if you won't someday, you have people you love and people you care about that you need to be able to take care of and protect, because you're a grown man and that's your job in this world. So with that being said, go charge more, charge what you're worth so that you can take care of the people in your life, because that's your responsibility. So, love you guys, hope you're out there killing it, and I'll see you on the next one.